Welcome to this C4A Academy episode where we will talk about the incredibly important topic of regulation. Dysregulation can come from sensory issues such as lights and sounds. Non-speakers can also have down-regulation or droopy low energy. We will also discuss how clocks can be regulating. Sensory items can help with regulation. Obsessions with doors, clocks, colors and many other things can cause dysregulation. And tucked in this episode, we will talk about the most regulating thing for non-speakers. Listen to find out. Dysregulation.
Hi, we are going to now talk to you about regulation and dysregulation, something that is a very large issue, concern, and something that we need to understand as well as we can so they can type for us. So Judy, help us.
Okay, so first of all, it's really important that people understand that regulation has nothing to do with being non-speaking or speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody becomes dysregulated. Every
That's right.
human being on the planet can become dysregulated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people joke, and there's even TV commercials where they talk about people being hangry.
Yes.
Okay, that is dysregulation. I'm so hungry that I'm a rat bag.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
right. Or if somebody cuts you off in traffic,
Correct.
you get dysregulated.
Yesterday, I was so tired that I was having trouble focusing. Okay, I wasn't really myself. I was droopy. That's dysregulation.
Mm-hmm.
So dysregulation is any emotional or physical experience that makes you act in a way that you may not ordinarily act.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, okay, it is my job as the communication partner to help my non-speaker to regulate, which is why some people use the term communication regulation partner. I tend to say just CP for short, but CRP is a synonym, and it's a perfectly valid one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now, I brought in some shows and tells for this video because I want you guys to understand the degree to which I will go to try to help my non-speakers regulate. Remember that when your mental state is not optimal, okay, motor skills are harder, right? Dysregulation causes a decrease in motor abilities. Just like I've pointed out in previous videos, that why do we cheer for our home team? They're feeling positive, their motor skills improve. We boo the opposing team because we want them to know we hate them. Right, so so they won't hit the home run or get the touchdown or whatever. Okay, and it's also the reason that when people are tense, they're about to become the champion of the U.S. Open golf tournament, and they have to land that 4-foot putt. Okay, that can easily lead to dysregulation, right? Sympathetic nervous system involvement. My heart rate is up. Okay, I'm sweating more, and so forth. So, bearing in mind, remember I've talked before in previous videos that every single one of our students to some degree has anxiety. And of course I say to myself all the time, well, if I lived inside with that kind of a wonderful brain, inside a body that didn't listen to my brain, the brain-body disconnect, that in itself will cause dysregulation. It would certainly dysregulate me, it would dysregulate you. So we go to great lengths to try to figure out what is it that can help this person to be calm.
Mm-hmm.
So I have students that do not like lights being on.
Oh, the fluorescent lights are really
They go
rough.
off.
In first grade, the teacher shut off the lights to quiet the class. Suddenly, the glare was off the letterboard and I was able to type. And please give us sunglasses outside on sunny days.
We
I
have
think they're rough for Elizabeth right now.
we have natural lighting here, and
Yeah.
if that makes them comfortable, then that's great. Lights go off. Okay. If noise bothers them, either A, we schedule them to come in at a time where it's quieter in my offices, or many students you may see wearing noise canceling headphones. We keep extra pairs in my office in case a student is having that kind of day.
Yes.
Do you remember many of the students have something called hyperacusis, which means extremely sensitive hearing. Noise can be painful to them. Okay, and it does wax and wane a little bit. So if I'm noticing a student's doing a lot of ear covering,
Yes.
okay, I will try to reduce the noise level for them in the room. I will keep my voice more modulated.
Most typers I know have extremely sensitive hearing. We can get dysregulated by sudden noises like pots banged in the kitchen. We also can hear whispered conversations, so watch what you say. Down regulation and clocks.
Some students, though, are a little down-regulated. They're droopy, okay? And I will then use my own body and voice to try to raise the energy level, be excessively enthusiastic maybe for a little while, okay? Other things that we keep in our office, these are all true stories. I have a student, I tend to keep my transcript on a computer, just so I don't have to rewrite things, because we keep records in the office of where our students are and where they're progressing, etc. He cannot bear the digital clock on the computer. In the cup holder next to my desk, I keep a little post-it note, this is it, and every time before he comes in, the little digital clock on the computer gets covered, and the digital watch comes off and it goes into the bucket next to my table. I know that that bothers that student. Some students, okay, on the other hand, love to have clocks. Even though they love being here and want to talk, their OCD anxiety makes it hard for them. They need to kind of know what's happening and what's happening next. Well, that's my job. We have different kinds of clocks that we keep in the office, and I know which students like to have a timer. So this is just, you know, one sort of a timer where they can see how much time is left in their session, for example. Okay. We also, some of the guys like the non-digital timer, so we have a clock, again, that looks like this, and the red gets less and less as it gets closer to the time that they're finished. They just like to have it there, not because they don't want to be there, just because it helps them to regulate.
The visual clock really helped me when I was younger because it gave me some ability to know what was expected of me. Your typer will be calmer if they see a 10-minute session on the clock than having a session with an uncertain end.
To kind of know what's coming next. We also have some sensory things. I only brought in a couple to show you.
Sensory items.
This is just a little sensory cushion. They sit on it. It kind of gives textual feedback. Some guys, it helps them to sort of feel calmer when they're sitting. We have a whole bunch of these throughout the office. These are small weighted lap blankets.
Yes.
Okay, weighted blankets can be very soothing for the nervous system. So we allow them, if they would choose, many of them do, to put it on their laps during a session, just because it grounds them.
Right.
Okay, so these are just a few of the ways that we try to help create a positive, relaxed learning environment for our students here. And I do notice, by the way, as they progress in this process, and this is becoming easier for them, and they are understanding where we're going with this, and they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, this too becomes regulating for them, believe it or not.
Oh, for sure.
So many students may come in dysregulated, but when we sit down and they start to spell, suddenly the dysregulation vanishes. Okay, so that's another thing to bring up as you guys progress with your non-speakers. Okay, some non-speakers really find keyboarding dysregulating, but my son finds laminate boards dysregulating and prefers the keyboard.
Yes.
So again, it's getting to really be a careful observer of your child or your non-speaker. If you're training to become a communication partner, be aware. Look at the things that maybe they find difficult. Make sure they're not hungry, they're not thirsty. Take a break. Okay, some of the guys become very dysregulated if they need to use the bathroom. Look for the signs, because sometimes maybe they don't have a way of expressing yet that they need to go to the bathroom.
That's right.
Okay, so again, I'm always trying to be a very careful observer and get to know my non-speaker even before he or she can talk to me fluently, to figure out what can I do to help.
I think there are a couple things that if you just keep in mind, that if you think that a lot of our non-speakers have, as Judy said, hypersensitive hearing, their visual, and their what they smell. So I know Elizabeth has told us many, many times that perfumes really dysregulate her. And in fact, when she was in college, we actually had to make an announcement in a couple of her classes to ask the students who are really perfuming up, these girls, that please not, because it was actually something that was really giving her, I think, pretty severe headaches.
Yeah.
And she just said, look, I can't take the perfumes. So
Yep.
be aware of these things.
It's not just perfume. Please be careful about scented laundry detergents, shampoos, and body lotions. They do give me headaches.
There's other, because right, remember the sensory, there are sensory sensitivities that we have to be aware of. Okay, I also have a few more stories to tell you, okay, about ways I've found to help regulate students. I have a student who, if I put my hands out like this, he likes to just clap it. It regulates him.
All right, I'm going to tell you a story. So you see me here, I have my hands on Elizabeth, and what I'm usually doing is just calmly tapping a beat.
There you go.
Very similar. That are being able to be connected and also having a little bit of rhythm helps to keep us kind of both regulated, I think.
Right.
So yeah, so I think that's a very common one, is the human connection and also the being able to have some kind of rhythm.
Right.
So
another one I have found is I have certain students that need to hold, in my office, we just call them stems for the lack of a better word. Okay, holding certain items can be. I don't ever take them away. So I have a student, for example, who likes to just hold a piece of string, and he kind of twirls it every so often, he gives it a wiggle. I'm like, okay, if that works for him, that's great.
Right.
Keep it. I even had a student whose laptop was his security blanket. Okay, and of course parents are always like, oh, let me take that away. I was like, absolutely do not take that away. Okay, if he wants to have that on his lap while I'm reading, that's great. And then I said to him, okay, now I need you just to put it here. You can hold it with that hand if you need to, but put it here. We're going to use this hand to spell. It was never an issue, not once, ever.
Right.
As soon as I would tap like this after that, he'd put it right up there, and then when it was time for me to read or listen again, he'd put it back in his lap.
So I think this is a great general thing. If your child has anything, let's say it's a stuffed animal, it's a Disney book, whatever it is, if it calms them, you can have it there.
100%.
This is not like we have a clean desk, but this is not a absolute you must have a clean desk. Whatever is making them able to get their body regulated so that they can then do the work. Even again, they may be looking at this book, like holding it in their hand and looking at it while it's being read. You don't have to say, oh, put that book down, now you have to listen. They're listening.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, that's another thing. Don't force your non-speaker to look at you. Okay, for some of our students, okay, eye contact is difficult. Okay, I don't need them to look, right? The expression we use here, probably many of you have heard it, is listening doesn't have a look. Okay?
That's right.
They're listening, don't force them. If they want to look, that's wonderful. But if they're having a day where they don't want to look, that's also wonderful. Whatever is working for them.
It is harder for me to listen to someone if I am looking at them, but I forced myself to look at my college professors as much as possible because I wanted to connect with them. Consider this something to work on with a fluent typer if they want to perform the theater of listening. Obsessions.
Okay, I also want to make people aware that a lot of students have certain OCD things that they just, look, OCD by its very nature is irrational. So for example, as I was saying, the student who can't look at the digital clock, I don't know why, but it's not my job to criticize and say, how come you can't look at that? If it bothers him, that's all I care about, it's gone. Okay.
By the way, Elizabeth does not like the color brown. So I don't know, there is no brown in any of our wardrobe because for whatever reason, the color brown dysregulates her.
Colors are very stimulating, so be aware that certain colors can be dysregulating. I am negatively affected by brown.
I actually want to come back to that. I want to tell you a couple more things. I have a lot of students who need things like, I have a student who can't bear blue sensory boards. I'm sorry, blue laminate boards, I meant. So when he comes in, every single blue board, we know he's coming. Blue board's gone. They're hidden. All right.
Oh, and some students I know have a thing about doors being opened or closed.
That's right.
Some of them have to have it open. Some of them have to have it closed.
That's right. We let them adjust it to their comfort level.
Yeah.
So again, just trying to give you the huge variety of things that we have noticed here that certain students need. Okay, I have one student, for example, who loves this timer. When he comes in, he runs straight to my office to get his timer, even if we're meeting in a different room for whatever reason. When he is spelling, the timer has to be facing him. When he is not spelling, he will flip the timer this way. I don't know why, and I don't care. If that's what he needs, that's what he gets. Okay, so it's just really important to start looking for things that you notice that bother certain spellers. We have another speller, by the way, who every laminate board in my office has to be in his mother's purse. Okay, and then we pull it out when it's time for him to speak, and then we put it back in the purse. Okay, by the way, one more last thing, last one for this video. Some students, because of the OCD, can use choose to use a laminate board in my office, but when we come out, let's say to do something in our group area, they want to use a keyboard. Again, if that's what makes them comfortable, that's what they get.
Terrific. All right. So now we have hopefully given you a few things to look for to help with regulation. We are going to make a whole other video on the subject of co-regulation, and that is how you as a communication partner actually can be part of this process of regulation. But for now, we just wanted to leave it at that. These are very basic things to help with regulation. Okay?
Actually, I'm going to make one addenda to that.
Oh, okay.
We have a coda. The most regulating thing for any non-speaker is for you to believe in them.
Yeah, that's part of the co-regulation, but start with that.
It's the single most important bit of regulation.
If you walk in there and you're like, maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't, forget it.
Or even worse, I know my child is cognitively impaired and can't even spell.
Forget it.
Forget it.
Okay. All right, we'll get to that in more depth later. All right, thanks.
Great.
All right, good.
Yes, we need you to believe we can learn to type with you. In this episode, we explored many aspects of regulation. Dysregulation can be caused by many sensory issues related to sights, sounds, and smell. Be a keen observer to minimize dysregulating issues. With a typer with down regulation, raise their energy with your voice. Preferred sensory items can vary from typer to typer. If it is regulating, let them have whatever book, computer, or piece of string they choose. Many non-speakers with autism have obsessions, and we should accommodate their needs as much as possible. Did you guess the most regulating thing? Believing your non-speaker can do this. Your episode exercise is to, before your next typing session, ask your typer to lie propped up on a bed in a darkened room. Use a blanket if helpful. Use an eye mask, if possible. Play soft instrumental music or the Calm app. Stay resting for 5 to 20 minutes. The communication partner may participate. Here it is, your moment of Zen.
M-A-K is make. S-U is make sure. Yeah. Y-O is make sure you. R-E-G-U-L-A-T-E is make sure you regulate. Y-N-O-U-R-S-E is make sure you regulate yourself. F-I-R-S is make sure you regulate yourself first. Done.